Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of On Deck with Mercury. I'm Vienna Town Manager Mercury Payton, and tonight we're holding our forum at Lezzet Mediterranean Restaurant here in Cedar Park Shopping Center on Cedar Lane. Joining me for a discussion about the final stages of our zoning code update is Kelly O'Brien, our Deputy Director of Planning and Zoning. Hi, how are you tonight?
Good, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know that you have a busy schedule, but I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to talk about the zoning code.
Absolutely.
The work on the zoning code is almost over. It's been about 3 years in the making, and it's the first major zoning code update in about 60 years, is what I understand. And the Vienna community gets the final say before the Planning Commission and Town Council takes this final vote. So, Kelly, you've been involved since the beginning of all this, and you're keenly aware of the current code and the changes that are being proposed. So maybe for the residents out there, you could explain the highlights of the proposed new code and explain why the update is necessary.
Absolutely, thank you. We really appreciate all the attention that everyone has been giving this and the great questions we're getting. The zoning code is important because it dictates how land is used throughout the entire town, both commercial, residential, the built environment, the uses, your fences, everything. A to Z, the trees, all of it is included. And a lot of the code is from, they said, over 60 years old, and there's some uses that don't really match what we do today. So we want to make sure that we have a code that meets the town's standards and the town's needs today. We also want to make the code as user-friendly as possible. Zoning isn't easy for everybody, even the professionals, but whatever we can do to make that easier to understand, more tables, more graphics, that was our main goal for this. It wasn't really to change a lot, it was to really bring it up and make it more user-friendly and reorganize it.
Sure, and what you mean by that, as I understand it, is that we have town staff in the Department of Planning and Zoning. We see this stuff every day, live it and breathe it. Then you have staff outside the department who may be familiar with it a little bit. Then you have developers. Mm-hmm. They're kind of in the code and out of the code, and they're kind of familiar to some degree, but you want to make it user-friendly for them. Then you have residents, may just want to do a deck or whatever, and they're not in the code that frequently at all. So it's going to be rare for them to open it up and say, hey, how do I do this? So maybe talk a little bit about that aspect of making it user-friendly and what does that mean for residents?
Absolutely, thank you. The current code, there's a lot of articles, and you don't always know where to start and where to look for what you're looking for, what information you need for what you're doing. So one of the things that the draft code is proposing is to really focus it and organize it by the user. So if you're a resident and you just want to find out what can I do for my deck, sure, there is an article that's all about single unit residential. If you have a single unit house, this is everything you need to know about that. If you are a business and you want to know what you can do, that's all in one section. So rather than looking in multiple places, try to make it as compact as possible. So it's a lot less of the guesswork of trying to find what you need.
That's excellent. And over the last 3 years, you facilitated a robust communications and outreach effort to get the community input and on a proposal. Tell us about the different ways you sought community input and describe how the feedback informed the proposed plan at this point.
Absolutely. We have done our best to reach people where they are. Go from formal open houses, formal public hearings, but also informal conversations at the farmers market. It's honestly our best conversations have been at the farmers market. We sit outside the community center and we encourage people to stop by on your way to your gym class at the community center, on your way, picking up your items. We talk to 40 people regularly every Saturday, especially the last 3 Saturdays. But we also do the lunch and learns online. We work with do good collaborations with the Vienna Business Association, Economic Development, Parks and Rec, take advantage of all the great groups that we already have in place. We talk to our boards and commissions. We knew we wouldn't have 100% involvement, but our goal was 100% awareness. We wanted everyone to be aware of what was going on and have the opportunity to ask questions and share their thoughts throughout the whole process.
Sure, and I know of course over the course of 3 years there have been some hurdles and obstacles overcome. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that. Absolutely.
Of course, nobody saw a pandemic coming.
Right.
And public engagement during a pandemic is difficult at best. But I think with adversity comes some creativity. One of my favorite public engagement events that we had was the cottage courthouse dog houses that were on the green. It's a combination of working with businesses, working with artists, working with Parks and Recreation, and everyone came together to come with a really fun thing that people could come out during a pandemic, safely check it out, learn more. We had an information board about what is a cottage courthouse. Right. It was a new housing type that no one had seen before, but it was also, then we raffled them off, raised money for the arts. It was a great collaboration.
So we actually had dog houses.
We had dog houses
that were replica of what?
It was to scale for what a cottage courthouse the setup would be like, as far as we even had a pretend road, and it was all to scale.
Amazing.
And the businesses and groups chipped in and decorated them and made them look beautiful.
That's very creative.
It was a lot of fun. So I don't know that would have happened outside of pandemic, but I'm glad that it made us think of a way that people can safely interact on their own time, and so it was a good event.
So now the finish line is in sight. Tell us about the proposed changes in the new zoning code that have the greatest impact on residential property owners.
So for residences, there's really no changes as far as your setbacks aren't changing. I know everyone's concerned about lot coverage. There's no proposed changes to lot coverage. The porch projections is already approved. We went through that last year. The name of your zone isn't going to change, but things that are new are like lighting standards. Our code doesn't have lighting standards now. Now that doesn't mean that you have to go out and change your lights today. Everything that you have today, this goes for business and residence, whatever you have now, you can continue on. Sure. If you were changing, so if someone's coming in redeveloping, then they'd have to meet the code, or if you're changing your lights out, then you have to meet the new code. But the goal is just to be friendlier to the community and no glare on pedestrians or motorists, just safer regulations, just to make sure. So. Sure, absolutely. No major changes for residences.
Now, residents aren't the only ones that will have additional opportunities. The proposed zoning code also provides some flexibility for our business community to grow. Tell us about that expectation.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that we looked forward to updating were the uses. We had a lot of old uses from the 50s that just really weren't meeting what the businesses need now. And we want to make sure we had standards that the site that they're choosing was the right site for that use. So we've also put it into a table form. So if someone comes in and says, I want to do this type of business, where can I do it? Right. We now have a very easier to use table. I want this one, I can do it here, here, and here. So a lot more cross-referencing and just clarity of what's expected with that type of use. So even some uses expanding. Currently, the town only allows childcare, like daycare, in residential zones. So the churches and things like that. But often we would have looking for commercial sites that could work. So the draft code proposes to allow childcare in more commercial sites if it meets certain standards.
Okay. So where can people see the proposed new zoning code to review it? They want to check it out and want to say, hey, what's this about?
So we have it in two places. One on the town's website, vienna.va.gov, and then the short is zoning draft.
Zoning draft.
And then also we have our project page, codecreatevienna.com. And that has all of the things we've done in the past. It has some links to maps. It has some of the summary memos of the changes, the video we've done to Lunch and Learns. So, and the project page, when the project is done, will go away and everything will live on the town page. That's why we have both. So get everyone used to looking in the town page again.
Got it. Now the town council and planning commission have already had one joint public hearing on the proposed new code. What were your thoughts about that?
It was really good to have people come out. It's been inspiring to see the very thoughtful review. We've gotten a lot of questions on email and at the farmers market. We were at Chillin' on Church and people were stopping and talking with us about things that they had read and questions they had. It's good for us. We want everyone to be involved, but it's even that much more rewarding when they're asking very thoughtful questions. But we tell everyone you don't have to read all 300 pages to give your thoughts. You know what you like or don't like. Council wants to hear from you. Whatever your thoughts about how we develop and how we grow, we want to hear from you.
That sounds good. And so someone may be watching right now and they say, well, I missed the public hearings. So does that mean, well, they have no opportunity to weigh in, or is there still an opportunity for residents to weigh in if they missed the public hearing?
So there's one more in-person public hearing, and that's tomorrow night, Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. It is a joint hearing with the Planning Commission and Town Council. And so you can provide your in-person comments, but you can also email your comments in to the town clerk, mclark@viennava.gov. Or drop them off at Town Hall or mail them in. And those written comments are accepted until July 26th.
Okay, so they're watching and it's not yet July 26th. They still have time.
Still have time.
Still have time.
And you can ask questions. I'll email the town staff, call us. If you're not quite sure before you send your comments in, you have a question, we're happy to answer those questions.
Okay, so then it's July 27th. We turn the page. Okay, what happened next? What's the next stage?
So next, staff will take all the comments, both we've heard in person and what we've gotten written, and try to synthesize those and tag them. So if we say there's 10 comments about parking, 10 comments about this, just to help Planning Commission and Town Council. So we'll then take that grouped comments, package it for Council and Planning Commission to review, and that will help inform their decision of whether to move forward, make changes. So, but that's our goal, is to not change anyone's words, just help guide them, if there's any commonalities.
Sure. Now, I know especially you are looking forward to that day. You started working on Code Create 3 years ago as the town's principal planner, and are on the cusp of bringing it to the finish line as the deputy director of planning and zoning. Any thoughts about the journey? I mean, some people say that the journey is more, exciting than the actual event itself coming to the close. But tell us a little bit about the journey for you, and then the joy of it having it completed and seeing that come to pass.
It's definitely a large undertaking. Every jurisdiction goes through this. Inevitably, codes need to update and come up to current standards. And it is a lot to wrap your arms around, and I applaud Council and Planning Commission for really diving in and really getting that planning level knowledge of what we do every day. So I appreciate the time that they've taken to kind of get there with us. And even in the staff, with other staff, other departments have been involved and interested. So it's really been a team effort, which I greatly appreciate because it is such a big project. It will be nice to have it adopted, if only because it is going to be so much more user-friendly. We really want something that's easier for the community at large to help understand. So that's, if nothing else, just cleaning it up is the greatest part of this, is making it user-friendly.
Is there anything else that the residents out there watching should know as we kind of close this episode here? Anything that you want to leave a lasting thought with them as they consider Code Create and the zoning code?
I would say that this isn't it. We've said from the beginning, this is a living document. We know there's going to be things that we didn't get to in this round. For example, parking study, we've got a parking study going on, so we know there may be some suggestions for changing the parking standards. There's a lot of topics early on that we said were too big to address right now, so I don't want anyone to feel like if you missed it, this is it, you're done. There's no wrong time to send your thoughts and comments in. You don't have to wait for a public hearing.
Right.
And there's council always wants to hear from the community, so it's never going to be 100% right. Sure.
So here we are in July, and so it's next year, July 2024, and residents are observing something. They should contact you and say, I'm observing this.
Absolutely.
Impact of the code.
And that's the thing, there's always unintended consequences. We may think that this is what the outcome will be, right. But if that's not how it should be working, we want to hear that and we want to adjust. We've told council from the beginning, 6 months in, we'll say, okay, here's what we're seeing. 1 year in, we want to have those discussions and let them know how it's working out.
Okay, well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your hard work on this. I've seen it from day one to get to this point, and I know the future of Vienna is in good hands with you guiding this, and David, our director, guiding this, and all of your team's efforts. Really appreciate all that you've done, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. And also would like to thank Lezzet Mediterranean Restaurant for allowing us to use this beautiful space for our On Deck with Mercury tonight. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Deck with Mercury.